Okay, so what I'm going to try to do right now is do a quick demonstration on how you can use OBS, which is a free screen recording software, to do exactly what I'm doing right now, which is essentially recording a lesson. I've got a fake little PowerPoint back here, and I'm actually recording this with a second copy of OBS. How's that for confusing? So I'm not quite sure how this is going to work. Hopefully OBS won't crash on me because I have it open twice. We'll see what happens. So the first time you open OBS, it'll ask you if you want to do a free an automatic configuration method, and I generally don't ever do that. So what I'm going to go over with you is how to kind of set it up and then how to get it going. So the first thing you want to do is you want to go over here and add a scene. So I'll add the scene, and I'll just say, I'll just say, yes, scene 2, whatever. And then I'll give myself, I'll say, no webcam. And you'll see that I have them with webcams and without webcams, different setups here. And so once you do that, you kind of have to add sources in order to see what you want to see. So the first thing that you probably want to do is you want to add your microphone. Now that microphone can come from any different number of sources. It's not too hard to figure out, but it is important. So I'm going to go to audio input capture. So this is going to be the source of the audio. You can create a new one, and we'll just create a new one, but you could add existing. That's if you had them already set up in a previous thing. So I'm just going to click OK. And then my device is going to be my microphone. And you can see I have two microphones here. One's from my webcam, and one's the microphone that I have plugged into the back of my computer through the microphone jack. So that's what I'm going to choose right now. I'm going to click OK. And now you can kind of see how it's the levels are bouncing around and everything here. Now this microphone in particular is a mono microphone. So you can see how only the left side is bouncing up here and the right side is not. I can also adjust the levels here like this to kind of give me the proper volume. So what I would probably best be able to do here is click this, and I'm going to go to properties. Oh, nope. Cancel, click it again, and go to advanced audio properties. That's right. And then right here you can see my audio input capture, and I can make that mono. And so once I do that, you can kind of see now both of the channels are bouncing as I speak, and that's the best. At least it's a good start. You can also have desktop audio. So if you are recording sound from, say, a YouTube video, or if you're recording sound from a movie or something like that that you're using as the display, maybe your PowerPoint has audio in it, this also can help you as far as that's concerned. So if I were to, say, launch iTunes, and there we go, and just start playing a little Muse, you can't hear it. But then as I were to if I increase the desktop audio, let's go turn that on, you can see the levels are still bouncing. Now, I'm not doing that in the version of OBS that I'm actually recording with, but here I can do the same thing, and you'll be able to hear it. So now the music is kind of coming up. You can hear it, and anything that's on the desktop that's playing from a file or a browser or anything like that will show up. So let me turn that off there for a second. Okay, so now I've got my audio. Obviously, I still need video. So each source, it's best to try and do each source separately. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a window or display capture. So I'm going to do my display capture, and I'll just call this display capture 3 because I have previous ones. It would be display capture for you. Click OK, and now I get to choose which display. So that's my second monitor there. Here's the first monitor that I actually use. And you can see that I've got the PowerPoint up and everything like that, and I click OK. So now I've started to get that kind of set up. If you wanted a webcam, you could add that again. Actually, we'll do that later. So this is no webcam. And so now what you can do is you're almost ready to start recording. Now you can stream live too to Twitch or something like that if you wanted to, and that's honestly what most people use this software for, is streaming live. But you know, I find that it's really good for recording. So what we're going to do here is we're going to set up our settings for recording. So I'm going to hit settings, and this is where it requires a little bit of technical knowledge to really understand what you're doing, but it's not that horrible. So we'll set this up as we go along. So we have a couple of really important things here. First off, you probably want to go from simple to advanced. If you go from simple to advanced, it gives you the ability to change your bit rates. If you're streaming, the quality of the video or the bit rate of the video is actually much lower, usually around 3,500 kilobits per second to about 4,500 kilobits per second. If you're recording stuff for YouTube or for streams, then it actually has to be a lot higher quality. So what I like to do is I like to have advanced mode turned on just because that allows me to do separate things. So then right here under the recording, so we're in output recording, you're going to take your movie, the recording format as a MOV file, that's good. Audio track, I just have number 1 turned on, and your encoder should be set to X264, which is kind of an open source version of MPEG-4s, which is essentially the same thing that's on your Blu-ray discs that you might rent. And then you're going to go down here to rate control. Oh, and do be mindful of this warning. It says recording saved to an MP4 or MOV file will be unrecoverable if the file cannot be finalized. So in other words, if the computer crashes in the middle of your demo, it's toast. I don't really care about that because the options that you have is FLV, which is flash, and MKVs. I don't even remember which ones aren't that problem. But MOVs are just the best because they go into things like streams and other types of programs and streaming services like YouTube or whatever. They seem to go in very easily. You can set it up to an MP4. It's the same thing. Really, it's exactly the same thing. So here we have our rate control. I set it to VBR, which stands for variable bit recording. And then my bit rates right now are set to 10,000 kilobits per second. That's 10 megabits per second. And that seems to be a good standard for what YouTube or streams wants. I haven't had any problem with the quality of my videos at 10,000 kilobits per second. If you've got a lot of hard drive space to burn, you could probably bump that up to 12 or 15,000 kilobits per second, especially if you're doing something that has really fine text. Increasing the bit rate will help the edges of the text be more readable, that sort of a thing. So that's pretty good. The last thing that and that's really all you need to do. Take your audio and make sure your bit rates, I like my bit rates for the audio to be 256. That's kind of medium to high. 160 to 192 is very common. And depending upon the quality that you want for your bit rates for your audio, you can change that if you want. The other thing to note under your recording is where you're putting them. If you have multiple hard drives or separate hard drives or a hard drive that's just for extra stuff, you might want to change the recording path away from here. That all just depends upon your computer and your setup, really. Going to your audio, depending upon what you're doing, you can save a little bit of space by selecting mono. You could also keep it at 44.1, saves a little bit of space. I don't see any reason for you need to go up to 48 kilohertz. Again, that's just more of a quality thing. I leave everything else here the same. One thing to do, OBS also under video, it usually takes your scaled resolution and it sets it to half, which is 1280 by 720. You don't want that. You want it at 1080. So you're going to take your output scaled resolution to 1080. If you're fortunate enough to have like a 4K monitor or something like that, then this will be much higher. I would take your output and scale it back down to 1080. So it's normal high def signal. That's perfect. And then the frames per second is 30. That's, I think, the standard. Lastly, if you want to, if you want to listen, it used to be under the advanced tab. That's why I went there. This option here for monitoring device. If you want to listen to yourself for a little while, just to make sure that you're getting audio, that sort of thing, you need to set this monitoring device to your headphones. You should not set it to the speakers on your laptop or your computer, because what's going to happen then is you're going to get this nasty feedback loop where you hear yourself, that audio then goes into the microphone and then it literally loops and then it starts to whine. You know exactly what that is. And a whine sound is really horrible. I should probably even shouldn't try to do some sort of a sound effect for that. But you understand what feedback is. You've heard it before. It'll start getting echoey, echoey, echoey. It get worse and worse and worse, and then it goes into this like fingernails on chalkboard, screechy kind of sound. So you really only want to do it for headphones. So if you've got headphones plugged in, you would set it to your headphones. I do that. My problem with that is there's a delay. So when I'm wearing the headphones, I'll start speaking, and then it'll come back to me, and there's, I don't know, half a second delay or so. And the problem is I find that I'm waiting until the what I'm hearing ends. So I start dragging out words in a really unnatural manner, and my brain just can't process the two things differently. So it's really difficult for me to speak with my headphones on when using OBS because of that. I'm sure that you could play with the delays here and like subtract milliseconds, like 500 milliseconds minus 500 milliseconds, so that you could like try and get rid of that delay. I haven't played with that. I'm sure that there's lots of options for that. This is really top-notch software, especially for free. So it's it's very powerful. But once you get those things set up, so really quickly, just as review. So your output, advanced. Don't worry about streaming unless you are streaming. And then 4,000 kilobits per second, variable bit rates, fine. Recording is important. Make sure you set your spot, or like the location where the movies are going to go to. Recording format to move, that's my personal preference. Again, you can play with the different formats if you like. 264 encoder, VBR, 10,000 kilobits per second minimum if you're going to want to make nice recorded high quality videos. And then you go to your audio, make sure these are all set to 256 bits, and then you go to audio here, and if you want, you make sure that you set your monitoring device to analog, and then lastly go to video, and you make sure that your scaled resolution is 1080, 1920 by 1080. Do those things and then you are set and ready to go. And now what you can do is you can swap back and forth, you can add sources, you can do all sorts of things. So for instance, let's say I wanted to add a webcam. So I'm going to take this, say no webcam, I can right click and I can duplicate it. So now I'll have it and I'll say with webcam. Okay, so now I've got a scene that has with webcam, and now I'll sit here and I'll add my webcam. So I'm going to go add video capture device, and I'll call it webcam, click OK, and it's not working, and I don't know why. Probably because I have a second setup going and it's probably using that, of course. But I can show you anyway. So what you can do is you can have these and you can switch back and forth. So like I can be here with a webcam version, and then I can say, here's my webcam version with me in the corner, and I've set that up. You can change the scaling and the sizing and all that other stuff just by clicking on it, and you can drag it up or down or however, whatever size you want. Move it around to whatever corner you want, and then while you're recording you can then switch back to no webcam, and then back to webcam, and then no webcam, and so on and so forth, to allow yourself to kind of disappear or reappear as you see fit. I don't know, for me, I think the students like to see our faces. Sometimes it makes it a little bit more personable, so I kind of like having that there. But after a while, sometimes I need the real estate in the screen or something like that, so I'll make myself disappear. They also probably get sick of my face a lot as well, so that's probably not a bad thing. I have two monitors on my computer, so I can actually just take this and slide it over to the other monitor, and then I can do that. But if you don't want to do that, then what you can do is you can minimize it. And once you've got it all set up and you started to record, you hit the record button, you minimize, and now you can go and you can do your PowerPoint lesson and go through your slides, talk about the lessons that you want to do, give them all the information that you want, let them hear your voice, and then, hey, I'm done. And it's just that simple. And then now I can, turn it off here by going back to my, it's not allowing me to do that. There we go. By going back, and then you can hit stop recording, which would be right there. And you can kind of see it right here. So it says stop recording. So essentially what happens is I've got all these different audio and video capabilities here, and you can kind of see how that works. And I've set scene transitions to fade, so that if I do something with a webcam, I can turn it on. Oh, you can't see it. Again, it's because the other version of it's using it. It's so frustrating. So if I go from no webcam to with webcam, there's a fade that happens, and the duration of that fade is 500 milliseconds. So that's half a second. And then I can go right back to no webcam, and you can kind of see how that fades in and fades out kind of nicely. You could just do straight cuts if you wanted to. And if I set that to a cut, now when I go with webcam or no webcam, it just kind of cuts in and out. I think the fade's nice. I don't like it to be overly dramatic. So if I did something stupid like 5,000 milliseconds, now it would be like this really dramatic slow fade in, and then a really dramatic and then it fades out. It doesn't do probably maybe because it wasn't finished yet. I don't know. That's kind of funny. So it's going to fade there, and then now if I go to no webcam, I slowly disappear. So I generally like just a half a second, and I think that works. But you can play with this all you want. It's relatively simple software. It works really well, and the results that you get are really professional. You're only limited. Honestly, your biggest limiting factors are the quality of the webcam that you have, and also the quality of your microphone. If you've got a really nice microphone that picks up a lot of your, picks up your voice really nicely, picks up a lot of detail. If you're in a room that doesn't have a lot of echo, then your videos are gonna, sound really great. If you do want a webcam and you've got a nice sharp webcam that's high quality, then you're gonna look great. If you're using a laptop and your fingerprints and smudges are all over the webcam that's on that lid, the screen of your laptop, then yeah, it's going to look blotchy and blurry and kind of weird. And, so cleaning that would help. But really, if you get this software, I mean, this is full professional level stuff, and it works just really, really well. And you can capture just about anything. Like I said, you can use PowerPoints. You could be browsing a web page or something with your students, and they'll just see exactly what's on your screen. So it really gives you a lot of flexibility of what you're presenting with. You're not really hemmed into one particular application or one particular way of doing a lesson. You can add in a whole bunch of resources or whatever resources that you have available to you, images or whatever. Just prepare them all ahead of time and have them ready to go, and then you can just bring them up on your screen, talk about them just like you might in a real class. It's nice because I think once you learn the software, the overhead of preparation is actually really no more than you might do for a normal class, at least for me. And so I have all these resources. I just show them, I record them, and I'm done. And then you can save, and then you can upload that video straight up to Streams and put it in your Microsoft Teams, and let your students watch it. And that way they can see exactly what you wanted them to see and hear exactly what you wanted them to hear. So yeah, I think it's great software. Hopefully this has helped you maybe think about diving into OBS. I know there's lots of other alternatives out there, lots of other options, and not any one of them is really all that much better than any others. But if you're really looking for good screen capture software, I think OBS is probably one of the best, and it's free. So that shouldn't be that big of a deal for people to possibly use. And hopefully this has helped you out, just kind of getting a look at what's available on OBS. This is really just bare minimum, scratch the surface kind of thing. There's so much more to this software. I probably don't even use it to its fullest potential. I've just barely scratched the surface of this, but hopefully it was helpful, and maybe it'll help a couple of you figure out how you might want to put lessons out there for your students. Hope everybody is healthy and safe, and I'll talk to you later.